and I watched a few different friends play, and one of my favorite things that happened in Ben's match was he attacks with a whole bunch of creatures, and his opponent says, "How much is that?" And Ben goes, "I don't know. I didn't count it." They counted it, and it was 18, and it was turn 3.
That's great.
And the game was over.
Okay.
Ben's a New York area player. He's been playing forever. Absolutely forever. Now, Ben is one of those people that I remember going to Neutral Ground when I was younger.
Oh, Neutral Ground.
So, let's say, like, at Neutral Ground when I went there, I was maybe, like 16, 7-ish age range. And Ben was there, and Ben was a wee child. Ben was, an 11-year-old. So, now we have Ben battling. And Ben's been doing really well. Been top 16 some Pro Tours. It's
That's awesome.
Ben's good. Ben's the real deal.
Do we know anything about his opponent, Jeremiah Haywood?
I'm not.
And it looks like he might also be playing red. Is that correct? Maybe Boros?
Does look. Oh, he's playing a traditional red deck. He's playing cards like Kargan Dragonlord, Spike Shot Altar, and Plated Geopeting, Goblin Guide. He has Burst Lightning, Lightning Bolt. He has Basilisk Colors in his main deck.
Okay, this looks to me like this is very close, not exactly on it, but very close to Cedric Phillips' red deck. He's got Spike Shot Elders, Quoth of the Hammer, Kargan Dragonlord, Plated Geopede, Goblin Guide, Burst, Lightning Bolt, Basilisk Collar, Arc Trail, Searing Blaze, Mark Immunity. But basically, this is just a couple of Master Cores away. Okay, we've got the match starting, and already we have an explosion from the Kuldotha red deck of 3 artifacts. We've got 2 zeros, a Memnite and an Ornithopter, and a Pestrum. And then for our 1, we have our Signal Pest. Versus Spike Shot Elder, which is going to be dangerous in a second, and a Kuldotha, a Kargan Dragonlord.
Now remember, the Signal Pest cannot be blocked, except by, it's a Ledge Walker. It's hanging out on that ledge. It can't be blocked by either of those guys until that Dragonlord goes big.
Now, if I were him right now, I would just march the team in. I would be happy to trade that Memnite, which is going to die anyway, for either of those other cards.
I mean, he's thinking about bushwhacking. He might come in for a lot. You never know. He might just have one of those draws for.
He's thinking over, what's happening. So, what do we got? Goblin Guide? Is that what he's thinking about? Because he's looking at 1 land there. Does he have another land in hand?
He does have another land in hand.
Okay, there it is. Now we've got a Bushwhacker. There it is. Everybody's in.
They come.
Now, if I were his opponent, I would just block with the Dragonlord and take the rest. Kill that Memnite. That'd be my plan. Yeah, the Memnite. I'd kill the Memnite and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more damage. 6 damage is not a big deal against a deck without reach.
I mean, it's turn 2. That's a lot of damage.
Oh, I agree it's a lot of damage, but what I'm saying is that when the opponent doesn't have reach, you don't mind taking the 6. You can't block that guy. You can't block him.
He's on a ledge.
Try again. Try
He's
again.
on a ledge. Your dragon, he's not comfortable walking that close to that ledge. His wings are not fully developed yet.
Block the Memnite. There you go.
Jeremiah Haywood makes a legal block.
3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6.
This is only 2.
That's 2. There we go.
4, 5. 4, 5, 6. Just 6. 6.
Jeremiah goes down to 14. So, Jeremiah's going to start to get to activate the Spike Shot Elder the next turn. So the question is that he's far behind?
I think that's just fine. I mean, lay it. You've got the ability. If something dangerous happens, you can chump block and then kill a pest.
Just going to kill the pest right away.
Yeah, I don't think that is what he needs to do. I think he can sit on that because, well, I guess he's afraid of a Kuldotha Rebirth. So that's fine. do it before the Kodalth Rebirth can hit it, since he knows, his opponent knows that can happen. That's
Yeah.
just fine.
Well, I mean, Ben would almost certainly sacrifice Ornithopter.
Well, that's just it, though. Because there's the Elder in play, if he sacrifices the Ornithopter, that means that all of his creatures can be killed. So the Ornithopter at least can survive. From Jeremiah's standpoint, there's actually no reason to wait. From Ben's standpoint, he might still stack the Ornithopter, but from Jeremiah's perspective, it takes away that option. Feels like Ben is counting right now.
Yeah, that's what you do with that deck.
Like
Yeah.
devastating summons into Bushwhacker.
Basic math.
Oh, Goblin Guide. And is that another Bushwhacker? Yep.
I do.
Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 damage. You're going to have to block somebody.
You have to do your Goblin Guide trigger.
And there's land, I believe. That looks like a Teetering Peaks.
So there'll be a Searing Blaze and a Goblin Guide the next turn. He has block.
Yeah, you can't just take the 8.
You take 6.
Even gaining 2 life helps. There we go.
That's still a hefty amount of damage right there.
Oh yeah, he drew his Mark of Mutiny, which is not particularly exciting in this matchup.
He has a Searing Blaze in hand. I guess that's his play for this turn.
So he's got a Koth in hand as well, but he can't cast it yet. And if I were to be him, I would probably end up casting the Koth and then using it to make mana to blow up creatures, essentially. Now, right now,
5 of 5. Usually I drew 1 off.
thinking about that Searing Blaze on Goblin Guide, which seems very reasonable to me. I mean, you want to be able to let that Goblin Guide attack you, but not at the expense of life.
Anything else? Not interesting.
And there's something in his hand. Okay, Kargan Dragonlord, Koth, Mark of Mutiny in his hand. Now there's a contested war zone. He comes in and he can hit here for a total of 3 with that Ornithopter and with his Bushwhacker.
Jeremiah down to 5, and he's going to cast Kodalth Rebirth.
Oof. This is
A lot of power.
a really rough position. And there's not much you can draw here, given
Yeah,
what his
he's-
hand looked like.
He's basically out of it. And this is what the Kodalth Red deck does.
Okay, it's going to be Koth. Koth is going to make 3 mana. He's going to use that 3 mana to cast a... Oh, 1. Hopes that his opponent blocks?
I guess his opponent's going to block him every single time, right?
I'll attack
Yep.
6 for you.
And he's like, you're dead. There you go. Huh. There really wasn't much that he could do there unless he had another burn spell in his hand besides a Burst Lightning.
No. Imagine how bad that would have been for him if he was on the draw.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Kodalth Red deck is a whole new level of aggression as far as we're talking in Standard. Standard recently has been this format where it's okay to cast these big 6 drops. It's okay to cast these gigantic spells. You're trying to get ramped to your Avenger and you're not really casting anything, and you're just it's battle cruiser magic. But right now, the Kodalth Red deck has proven that it's going to take advantage of that. And if people want to play these slow games, they're going to punish people. And his opponent's not even trying to do that. His opponent's playing a red deck. His opponent's playing a slightly bigger red deck. From a theoretical standpoint, one might think that he would have an advantage, but just the swarm that Ben creates is overwhelming.
He has to have the right tools for it to be an advantage. If he doesn't have the right tools, right, Mark of Mutiny is almost meaningless in this matchup. And as we saw with the Koth, Koth is not particularly exciting when you are going to be on your heels.
Now, Jeremiah's deck is actually, he doesn't have Pyroclasms. He's going to have some trouble. He has Arc Trail, and that's about it.
Well, the 1 Burst Lightning, I think, is significant. I think that Flame Slash comes in. I think what he does is he brings in all of these little burns. Brings in 2 Flame Slash, brings in 1 Arc Trail, brings in 1 Burst Lightning, brings in 3 Cutting Spark Mage. And it's not that any of the cards that are like Burst or Flame Slash are in any way great in this matchup. It's just that you're trying to stem the bleeding. You know, you're just trying to chop down what you got enough such that, you know, just enough so that you can stay alive.
Ben is also slinging some very nice Rashad tokens.
You know, I think that in general, my favorite token is probably going to be a token with Rashad on it.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of my favorite tokens that you know I've seen with him just involves him tipping his hat a little bit, and I think that that might be the very token.
That is the very token
Yeah.
that we're looking at
Yeah.
right now. Yeah. He's wearing a similar hat with a different design on it.
You know,
Rashad was the type of person who thought to himself, you know what? I only have one hat that looks like I'm a mobster from Chicago in the 1930s. I need at least two of those. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe he has 4 or 5. I wouldn't be surprised.
this is Adrian Sullivan here with Star City Games Live, bringing you coverage of the Standard Open here in Indianapolis.
And I'm Jacob Van Lunen. We're going to be bringing you guys great coverage of all the feature matches throughout the weekend. Today is a standard tournament, and tomorrow we'll be covering Legacy. In this round, we have Ben Hayes playing against Jeremiah Haywood. Ben Hayes is playing Kadalpa Red. In my opinion, this is the breakout deck of the tournament. And Jeremiah Haywood is playing a more classic version of Red.
Yeah, I would say it reminds me of Cedric Phillips's build of a big red deck. And especially after looking at the sideboard, it looks as though he's a slightly shifted around the Cedric Phillips 75, we'll say, where Cedric had the Molten Tail Mastercores in the main, Jeremiah has them in the board. Now, what I'm hoping has happened is I'm hoping that Jeremiah did not bring in his Molten Tail Mastercores. Now, I say that because my own version of Red for Standard is very similar to Cedric Phillips as well, but in my experience versus Golgotha Red with that kind of red, you just are very slow if you're trying to rely on Molten Tail Mastercore. You have to rely on the lower portion of the curve. Even Haywood's Cunning Spark Mages, 1 less mana is a huge deal. You might not get to the point where you untap with Molten Tail Mastercore in play.
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's also just 1 body for 4 mana.
Yeah, one
which
body.
Is not very relevant when your opponent's trying to do what a Kadalpa Red player is trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that you have this incredible, you know, creature that costs $30 or however much at a dealer table, but it doesn't matter if like a 5-cent token is coming across the way and destroying you. Okay, we got an opening hand. Looks like he's got sufficient land. And
Goblin Guide?
okay, so in my opinion, it is correct in this matchup to keep in some number of Goblin Guides if you are the big red player. However, what I think is incorrect is attacking with it.
On turn 1?
Yes, you do not attack with it on turn 1.
That seems crazy.
I've played the matchup a lot,
Yeah.
and like right now, with my version of the big red, not versus this current version of Golgotha Red, but with the old version of Golgotha Red, I had about an 80% winning matchup, and part of it is you want the Goblin Guide as a guy that eats an attacker. It's just a crappy burn spell is all it is, and you attack with it once the game is to the point where you're not losing anymore. The ability to get in 2 damage is not relevant as compared to the ability that might mean they have an extra land. If you're a Golgotha Red player and there's a Goblin Guide on the table, you have to attack into it, right?
Yeah.
And so all it is a crappy burn spell, and you treat it like that. Okay, that Arc Trail, oh god. See, right,
Sniping cards off this.
see, right
too.
there,
This
it's
is crazy.
just not good. That 2 damage is not enough. You're going to win the games that go long. But you might lose.
That was a funny statement from Ben. But his opponent must have asked for blocks. And Ben just gave him a disgusted look and said, I'm not going to block.
Right, exactly, exactly. I mean, it's not like his opponent is not doing anything on the fight back, right? Now, pretend that there was a Goblin Guide there on D. Haywood would have +1 to +2 life. And now on this turn, if he was at +1 life, right, that Goblin Guide suddenly is in a position where it's not fearing as much damage. It can block that War Driver and just take in a little bit less. That Sackland, for example, like, is actually relevant when it comes to this race. Yeah, I usually board out 1 Goblin Guide because it's still a crappy spell if you're counting it like a burn spell, but you want all of the crappy burn spells you can get against the Golgotha Red player, which is even more aggressive now than it was before. Rashad says, who's the beatdown? And the answer is not Big Red.
Ben Hayes is certainly the beatdown.
Kargan Dragonlord.
I like thinking about Ben Hayes as the beatdown. I feel like that would be a good tag name for Ben.
And he comes in again with the Goblin Guide.
You know, Ben will play whatever the best deck is, and he will play it well.
This time there's a whiff on the Goblin Guide.
What did he reveal off of it?
I missed what he revealed. He covered it back up really quickly. We'll see in a second.
Not an artifact. He quickly hid that.
Yeah. I think I see an Arc Trail in Ben's hand. Is that correct? No, it must not be an Arc Trail. He would have probably killed that Kargan Dragonlord.
Well, no, he attacked into it, hoping to...
Hoping to get the Arc Trail after. With the 1-2. Yeah. Good point, good point.
Yeah.
And now he says go, because if you're doing this race, look at the life totals, right? Jeremiah is behind on the race.
Yeah. Jeremiah asked how many cards he had in his hands, and jumped back when Ben told him. The Goblin Guide's been doing work.
Now, once you start going down the Goblin Guide path, it's hard to turn it off. You just have to keep doing it, which just keeps adding to the risk. Reveals a Devastating Summons? Is that what that was? Devastating Summons, one of the best cards for red mirrors, just in general. Or near mirrors, as the case may be.
Makes some big guys.
Yeah.
You run out of cards in your hand? Well, it's about as good as it gets.
Okay, that Spike Shot Elder represents something that's actually scary.
Well, I mean, he has an Arc Trail in his hand, doesn't he?
I believe he does.
Yeah, so it's actually just...
Actually, just a 2-for-1.
Yeah. Jeremiah goes down to 11 here.
Now, I ask you to imagine this game with Ben Hayes having 2 less cards in his hand. And potentially Jeremiah Haywood having 4 or 5 more life. And here he comes again.
Well, Ben would also be at 20.
I agree. Ben would be at 20. I'm not sure how much I think that matters.
Summons Bushwhacker. Thanks.
Nope, no Summons Bushwhacker. He's just gonna put more stuff on the table, I think. Save it for next turn. His opponent only has 1 card in hand.
Ooh, Tuk Tuk.
Tuk Tuk is so good.
Let's explore.
Oh man, what does that do? That means that if you attack, you're in trouble. It's red moat, or at least red on red moat. Pick up your Tuk Tuks now, kids. That card's going to go up in value.
It certainly will.
It's in my extended sideboard.
It's going to be in Rashad's extended sideboard. You know what? I'm just going to say it now. It's not going to be in my extended sideboard.
Okay. So you've got some mana open and you're saying go. You might have a burn spell in hand, but really going to the air is your plan. You should pump into that Kargan Dragonlord. On one side of the table, we have 2 1/1 goblins that are tokens and a Tuk Tuk with 3 mountains. On the other side, we have 4 red sources. One's a Teetering Peaks, Kargan Dragonlord, and Goblin Guide.
Doesn't Ben have summons in his hand?
It's looked like a summons to me, but it might not be a summons. I see there's a
It's a
war
war
zone.
zone.
Red 9.
He's looking at his war zone as a possibility to gain a lot of damage here. He's thinking. I see the tapping finger. There's a lot of options here. I mean, there's the forked bolt. Getting the scary card. He's got a bushwhacker in hand.
Attacks with 2 tokens.
Leaves Tuk Tuk back to play D.
Jeremiah's thinking, well, I played the wrong red deck.
I would say he just played the wrong red deck with the wrong role in mind. I mean, he
That's
might have
true.
played the
It's
wrong...
also hard to turn off like the "Urgh" when you're playing a red deck, you know?
That's a skill that you have to cultivate. You know? And the contested war zone kills nothing. There's a burst. Maybe is it going to be on the blocked guy or the unblocked guy? Okay, it does do a trade. So, no damage for Jeremiah Haywood because he's in a position where he can't take much. Off the top of his library. What does he need here? You know, a creature is not very exciting unless it's a Kargan Dragonlord or a Cunning Spark Mage. Oh, Cunning Spark Mage. That's a great draw for him right here. It's probably not enough if that's a devastating summons Bushwhacker in the hand, though.
I think it's Godaltha Rebirth. Bushwhacker. But that's still...
So I think I see a Goblin Guide there. Now, from Ben Hayes' perspective, a Goblin Guide is an entirely different animal. It can absolutely attack. Bushwhacker. Maybe? Maybe not.
Yeah, there's not much value in playing the Bushwhacker. You can just Warzone and have the same effect, essentially.
This is true.
Like, Bushwhacker's just going to eat Spark Mage activation.
So he's contemplating the Tuk Tuk coming in. I think it should.
Oh, almost
There we go. And reveal. Played a Geopede. That is a good guy. You're in just such an untenable position here. You don't want to poke that Tuk Tuk. But, like, that pump is just huge.
That's a lot of damage.
Take it, he says. I'll go to 4. Poke you. He's got a plated Geopede on top, which is going to have to chump block. It's probably just going to be a double chump block this coming turn. And we've got Rebirth Rebirth Bushwhacker in Ben Hayes' hands. An artifact, if it's a 0, is a win. A 1, I think, is a win. A mountain is not a win.
Mountain's not a win. Ben has actually drawn very poorly this game.
I would agree.
He has like this massive Godaltha Rebirth in his hand, alongside a Bushwhacker, and he just cannot draw an artifact. Even though he's playing like 18 of them.
So now, with that configuration, plated Geopede, Cunning Spark Mage, the Goblin Guide actually goes in dead. If they both go in, the plated Geopede, or the Goblin Guide and the Tuk Tuk, then he has no defense. So a land could actually kill him.
He can just play Bushwhacker and then attack with all 3 and then activate, and then he wins, right?
Is that enough to do it?
Yeah.
Because block, poke. His opponent will take 0.
But both of his opponent's guys will die, right?
No.
If he plays Bushwhacker?
No, he'll still have a plated Geopede, and his opponent will have a Tuk Tuk in play. A big Tuk Tuk. Because the plated Geopede can block either the Bushwhacker or the Tuk Tuk and kill it and survive.
Okay. But then the Goblin Guide's getting it.
No, the Goblin Guide is blocked by the Cunning Spark Mage.
And then he's shooting.
Then he's shooting the X1.
With the Cunning Spark Mage?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's going to have a Cunning Spark Mage in play?
No. He would have a plated Geopede in play. With a top deck of a land would be potentially a win. Another plated Geopede. Still very, very close. An artifact is a win. You should lay that mountain. Lay it down so your devastating summons, if you draw one, will get you there. 5.
for the two-headed giant challenge.
It's getting tenuous.
This is getting quite tenuous.
Final call to sign up for the two-headed giant challenge. We are going to be starting that.
I think that was a land. I might have seen that wrong, but I think that was a land.
Please report to the main event stage.
Now, the thing that's really scary about the tuk-tuk, though, is that attacking into tuk-tuk is just...
Yeah. Not necessarily the
yeah.
greatest thing you can do.
Okay, there is a 0. Chimeric mass as a 0. Now let's look at the math on this. He's going to be able, I think, to have the kill.
It looks like it.
Summons.
I believe that's
A rebirth, that's what I meant to say. Thank you. A rebirth. Rashad. Kicked Bushwhacker. Scoopty scoop.
Well done. Ben Hayes wins the match. Cut off the red.
Yep.
Puts him at 4-0, I
Yeah.
believe.